Yo! I did it. Top 4, baby! Yeah, what's up? Welcome back. We got a top 4 on Narset. Let's go. This is gonna be a quick one. Cause yeah, it's quick. I didn't change much of the deck. It's more like an update video. So let's just dig into it. Or contrary to belief, this is a turbo Underworld Breach deck. So with that being said, I believe that this is the best Breach focused deck in the format.
What do you mean by that?
I don't think there's any other deck that's this good at playing Breach than Narset does. And the reason being is because even like Blue Farm, they're always looking to do other things. They can get Thoracle, Console, and then or they can do Breach, and you know that's their thing. So I usually compare Narset with Blue Farm because they're usually trying to do the same thing, except that Narset isn't trying to do the whole Thoracle Console thing, but it's also just looking to play Breach. And the reason why it's so good at playing Breach is because Narset is able to cast the pieces for a Breach out of the graveyard. Not exactly Brain Freeze or LED. It's more so like you want to cast Breach with Narset. And I built this in a way that it is very dedicated to just putting this Breach into play. And I'm just trying to hammer home, like, this is a Underworld Breach deck. And you have to consider that, Narset is the Underworld Breach, or it's a mnemonic betrayal in the command zone. So you look at Narset again. I'm going to read Narset again for people who don't know. Creatures you control have prowess. Whenever Narset Enlighten exile attack, exile target non-creature non-land card with mana value less than Narset's power from the graveyard and copy it. You may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. So you can put a Breach in the graveyard, and then you can swing with Narset. She'll cast it. Her power is 3 and Breach is 2, so Breach is going to pop into play off of a copy from exile. Thing is, your Breach is going to get exiled, and haven't run into the issue yet, but we'll dig into that later. You can pop that Breach into play. You can pop an opponent's Breach into play if they somehow mill it, or like they somehow fail on their Breach turn, or if you stop them on their Breach turn, you can just swing with Narset and cast their Breach, and you can win with their Breach. That is also an option. But yeah, I played this in Bonfire. My round was, let's see, I believe I won 3 out of 5 games here. Let's see. I think my record was 3-2. My ending record. Actually, no, I don't count one game. There was one game. I will leave up to. I think Tristan. He played Anelo in this tournament. Anelo the Painter. Really cool guy. Made a really good Anelo deck. You should check it out. I'll probably post in the links below or something like that. But I had a match 5 game, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, so we had a match 5 game together. There was a miscommunication where I said I wasn't going to win or something like that. And, you know how miscommunications go. I fucked up in some kind of way. And I knew that I fucked up, that I wasn't bullshitting or something like that. I was bullshitting everybody. It's because everybody revealed that they had interaction for a Teferi that I was trying to put down. I was trying to put a Teferi, I'll put that up too, 3 Fairy, as they call it, Teferi Time Raveler. I was trying to put a Teferi Time Raveler on the stack. And they were like, there was some kind of communication where I was like, they're like, are you going to win the game? And I was like, I don't know, probably. And everybody took it as, oh, he's not going to try to win the game. So they let it resolve. Like, one opponent revealed Pact of Negation, another one revealed Force of Will and a blue card, and there was a miscommunication there. So in my round 5 game, I offered a draw instead of just going ahead and saying "fuck you guys" and trying to win the game. I said, "Hey, let's just draw." Because, you know, the game's in an unrepairable state right now. Like, I'm already, like, trying to go ahead and go and win. I fucked up. I made a miscommunication error. And, you know, I feel like this would be the best way to fix it other than me just winning right now. My opponents were really cool about it. And I'm truly grateful for them because they didn't have to draw. They could have just been like, hey, fuck this guy. Get him out of here or something like that. So I appreciate them. Shout out to Tristan. I know Tristan has a tournament report. I'll post it down below. He played Anello, and that's a really good deck. You should check it out. But yeah, that was my that would have been my third win. That would have been my third win. I ended up 3-3-1. So I would have had an extra win here. So who's to say that would have determined my my elo for the semifinals? Because I ended up playing Tristan again. Played with a good homie Niall. He was playing Oscar. He has a really good Oscar build. Also, I just want to say before anybody gets all fucking weird, yeah. This deck, so like Niall's playing Oscar, Rubbish Raider, in the semifinals, right? And when you look at the tournament breakdown, you'll see that there's a lot of like, I guess, quote unquote off meta decks, and people are determining whether, you know, whether their wins were valid or not, because you might see like, oh, like there's Jorah, Weatherlight Captain, you haven't seen that in a while. Or you might see me on Narset, you haven't seen that in the top 4 ever. You might see like Anello the Painter, you haven't seen that. Another Jorah, Weatherlight Captain. Like you have to understand that like these are good pilots, these are also good decks. Not that one's better than the other. They're good pilots and they're also good decks. And as you can see here, from Niall, his deck, he's playing like Narset, Professor Onyx, so he's got the Chain of Smog in here, which I'm guessing Chain of Smog because it directly works with his deck. And when you play Oscar, I'm going to read off Oscar right now. Oscar says the spell costs 1 less to cast for each different mana value among cards in your graveyard. So it basically has a pseudo delve. It says whenever you discard a non-land card, you may cast it from your graveyard. So Chain of Smog also works without Oscar. When you have, well, it works without Professor Onyx. So when you put the Chain of Smog on the stack, you're gonna put that chain on the stack. You might target somebody else. I don't know, or you could just target yourself. I don't know why you would do that because you could just cast the cards anyway. But anyway, Chain of Smog still works with Oscar out, and then he can cast all of his stuff at instant speed. So I can understand why Professor Onyx is here. But to anybody else who's playing like, who only knows the meta as like the top decks have been performing over the last like year or so, this is gonna look weird. It's gonna look weird to you because you don't know it. But you also need to know that like these combos exist, and that's not on the pilot, it's not on the deck. It's not to say that it's weird or anything like that. Like, you need to get your shit together. You need to understand what the fuck these cards do. Because if you don't, they're gonna run all over you. And even then, they're still running like the classic like Dimir, you know, Dimir shell. They got JVP in here. Obviously, if you look at Oscar, and if you just read Oscar for like 10 minutes or like 5 minutes, you'll understand what the hell the deck's doing. Because like, obviously they're on a discard strategy. You have Ghostly Pilferer, you got JVP, Likeness Looter. Like, what do you think they're doing? Like, of course they're gonna do that. You know, like, you have to understand that like, this is also the Dimir shell, because of course he's got Thassa's Oracle. He's got Consultation. Of course, what else do you think he's gonna do? There's no excuse as to why like he might have like snuck through like into top 16 because he's doing the typical Demir Shell shit. Like, you can't make that excuse anymore. Like, you're a CDH player. You play competitively. You need to know these strategies. Like, you can't keep making up excuses to get beat by these decks. He won fair and square. He put his record on the board. He's top 16. Like, stop making excuses. Like, there's nothing bad about this deck. Even like, you know, typical cards that you would have seen anyway. What's your excuse? Like, I don't understand. You can't just keep making the excuse that like, oh, these decks stuck into the top 16 because, you know, nobody knew what they were playing. You know, what the fuck? Like, Tristan, Grixis. He's playing Grixis. What do you think he's doing? Like, and I bet you might not even see any different cards in here that you would normally see in the Grixis shell because Anelo the Painter does. It's just Grixis, Death Touch, 1/3 Vampire Assassin. It says the first instant sorcery spell you cast each turn has Casualty 2. So you're gonna see Blood Gas because it has a power 2, which is one of the few synergy pieces that you can put in the deck. Jadar because it makes 2/2 zombies, and then it gives you more fodder for Anelo. Also, you got the fabled Mercurial Spell Dancer that people just didn't figure out how to play, and it looks like Tristan did figure out how to play it. So, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, typical Grixis shell. He's got Dual Caster in there, so I guess he's got Twin Flame. And I think that's really cool that he has Dual Caster Mage because Dual Caster Mage also can function as a counter spell, or it can function as like some kind of value piece. And then when you're done with it, you can just sacrifice it to Anelo's ability, his casualty ability. You can maybe like Demonic Tutor, sacrifice Dual Caster Mage, and boom, Oracle Console in your hand. What the fuck? Alright, so we're back. My camera died. Well, no, my laptop died. Let's see. Alright, back into it. Let's see. Yeah, so yeah, they're running the typical Grixis shell. They got everything here that you would run in a Grixis deck. Even Underworld Breach, Dress Down, Opposition Agent. Like, dude, like, what's your excuse? Like, what is your excuse for not knowing this deck? And Besiege the Mirror is fucking cracked in this deck.
Fucking gay.
That is insane. Like, you don't understand, like, how cracked this card is. Like, because you can cast it for its bargain calls, and then you get the Casualty 2 trigger, which then you can just put Console and Tainted. You can put Tainted Thoracle on the stack or Console or whatever the fuck. I don't fucking know. I don't think you can do that actually, because you need to put the Thoracle trigger on the stack. Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, I lied. But you can get like Underworld Breach, and then you can get Brain Freeze, which is cool as shit. I think that's really cool. Shit, I might even put this together myself. This is pretty cool. I'm guessing this is his main like reasoning to build this deck, and I think that's really cool. Shout out to Tristan here. Yeah, typical Grixis shell. Like, what more could you want? As we go out of here, let's look at this top 16. Let's start with Logan. They were playing Halana, Timna. I didn't see the mall tournament, so another thing, this was a quote-unquote small CDH tournament. It was 64 players, but that doesn't matter because I still played 5 rounds of CDH, and then you have to include the top 16 and the top 4. So I played 7 rounds of CDH. I played my games. Yeah, this is a 5-round Swiss, and yeah, I didn't see Logan the whole time. But then obviously they were doing pretty well. They were 2-4. They just squeaked in. Those breakers were fucking tough, bro. Because I know Ian is like literally right outside on fucking Shurikai, which fucking sucks. I'm sorry, Ian. It should have been you. Then we got Tyler on Bruce Thrasios. Seen that before. Kennen, Todd on Kennen, Koei on Yuriko, Malcolm on Sisse. So you got the New York boys in the building. Yeah! You got Morgan on Tindacrom, Val on Tivit, Trent Corey on Sisse, Charles on Joyra. You got Tristan, Rogsai, me on Narset, Tim on Joyra, Eric on Atraxa, and Jorman on Thrasios Val Smasher. Shout out to the boy Jorman from New York. He really did his work. He put in the work. Bonfire finals. So we got Eric. Eric was on Atraxa. Then was followed by Tim on Joyra. Then it was me on Narset, and then Jorman on Thrasios Val Smasher. This pod was pretty cool. I remember, I think this game ended in like 2 turns, I think. Because the first turn, I think Eric played something, then he played a Grim Monolith. Then he passed to Tim. Then Tim had a Mystic Remora. Then I untapped, I played a land, I played a Mox Diamond, and then I think I might have played a Grim Monolith, I'm not too sure. And then Jorman, I don't think he played much. I think he played like a land and a rock and then like passed a turn. And then Eric follows up on his turn 2 with a Smothering Tide. So yeah, it was turn 2 actually. So Eric played Smothering Tide on turn 2. No response from the whole table. Tim untaps, pays for Remora, taps out, has a Remora on the battlefield. I play my 3rd land. I play Jewel Lotus into Narset, and then I keep him land up, which I had a Flusterstorm in my hand. So if anybody tried to go for it, I was prepared. Because that's, we're playing top 4. What the fuck do you think is going to happen? Like, why wouldn't you keep hands with interaction? Like, come on. I know, like, not a shot at like Eric or Tim or anything like that. Like, we're in top 4. Like, why would you just keep a hand with just plays and no interaction? Like, yo, you're trying to lose. Like, I'm not trying to lose. If I was the only person, if I wasn't the only person with interaction, we wouldn't have lost that quick to Jorman. But it is what it is, and he won that because people are greedy, I guess. So that's what it is. I had an immaculate hand, honestly. I had, like, my hand was like land, like 3 lands, Mox Diamond, Jewel Lotus, Flusterstorm, and a Jessica's Will. Like, there was no way I wasn't winning that game when I untapped, because I would have just hit the Jessica's Will, hit the gas on that bitch, straight out, breaching, all crazy. But yeah, it was a early match. I cast the Flusterstorm. I actually did end up casting the Flusterstorm on Jorman's Naws, but Jorman had a Flusterstorm to back it up, so that's how we lost. Jorman had it. So shout out to Jorman. He won that. He deserved that. So yeah, that's what it is. Top 4 is very short. Glad it was that short because I was hungry as fuck. I was ready to get out of there. Let's just take a look at my tournament deck, because this is also a... Oh, come on, bro. Let's take a look at my deck right here. The changes that I made from the last time. Last time I showed you this list, I added Bergie. And the crazy thing is, 10 minutes before I had to submit, or decks got locked in, I took out Fervent Mastery. If you don't know what Fervent Mastery is a 3 colors, red, sorcery. So search your library for 3 cards, put them into your hand, and discard 3 cards at random. And then it has an alternate cost. A target opponent can discard as many cards as they want from their hand. They can draw that many cards. I swapped that for Bergie because, 1, I'm casting spells during combat. Since the mana that Bergie makes carries over from combat, since I don't lose the mana as steps and phases end, I figured that would be a good addition. Also making red mana is really cool because there's a lot of red cards in this deck. I think there's about, let's see, I think it's probably the secondary color in this deck. Yeah, so you got 37 blue, 25 red. That's about it. First turn, or my first round one, I actually was in fourth position. Rockside was going for the win, and I cast a turn 2 Bergie, and then I pretended like the game was over and I didn't have anything, and then I cast the Enlightened Tutor and I put the Breach on top of my deck. And then Rockside proceeds to, try to win the game on their turn. This is about turn 2, and I follow up with the days that they could obviously pay for. So I had 2 red in my pool, whether they switched phases, and then I tried to cast a Final Fortune after they've cast their last chance, and it got countered. I think I just did it a little bit too late, but luckily the Gitrog player in our pod was able to kill him, because shout out to him, because he was a very responsible player. He had the Gitrog pilot, he had a squandered resources in play, and he sacrificed all but 2 of his lands to cast a Orcish Bowmasters to kill the Rockside player when he was at 1. That was crazy. But it was a very responsible move. If you're watching this video, don't feel bad about doing that, because you did what you were supposed to do. There was no clear win ahead. I didn't have it. It just looked like I was throwing out spells. But yeah, you did the right thing. If you needed any validation about that, you did do the right thing. You were gonna die, and you were less likely to die because you knew you were gonna untap, because my Final Fortune got countered. So you did have a turn, and you did that to get yourself another turn. So you did the right thing if you are watching this. Yeah, that's the only that's like the big change that I made. But yeah, that was a really cool play. I think no other plays came up during the tournament for Bergie. I was mostly playing for the backside because this is easier to cast than the double red for Fervent Mastery. But Harnfell is a decent card in this deck because I can discard cards from my hand after I play the Harnfell, and then I can swing with Narset, cast a card that I discarded, which is really cool. And then I can also get 2 more cards out of that, which is insane. But it says discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn, and that's what the deck's trying to do. It's trying to cast stuff from exile, it's trying to cast stuff from the graveyard. Really good all-around card. And that's what made the cut 10 minutes before my deck was due. What else did I have in here? I did mention before that I put in Merchant Skull because I swapped this with Traumatize. Traumatize was a little bit too costly, and it didn't work without the commander, unfortunately. So I swapped it for Merchant Skull. Merchant Skull finds Intuition, and then Intuition can go ahead and pick out the 3 cards I need to win the game. Usually like Breach, LED, Savine Reclamation, those kind of things. It's 5 no matter how you cut it. It's a lot easier with Narset in play. So I figured, grabbing 3 cards that you actually want was more powerful than milling half your library. Yeah, so that was one inclusion that I added. I did an Anger of the Gods due to the over fucking saturation of fucking Kinnan in all these tournaments, and also online tournaments where TIM is just running rampant. Let's look at this tournament. See how many fucking Kinnan decks were in here. Let's sort by color. Oh, we can't sort by color. Fuck, dude. Come on. Are there any Kinnans in the top 16? Yeah, there was Todd on Kinnan. So there was 1 Kinnan, 2. There's a Tatiova. There's 2 Kinnans. AC. 3 Kinnans. 4 Kinnans. Yeah, so there's hella Kinnans in this. Let's go back. So Anger of the Gods put in a lot of fucking work. I'm going to tell you that now. It put in work. even if like, like my opponent had a crazy board state, like say if like, the non-blue deck was playing like Dothy and like Dranith and like opposition agent, I just wipe the board clean. Those creatures aren't coming back. And that's the cool thing about Anger of the Gods, because you can do 3 damage to each creature, and then if they die, they go to exile. Crazy, right? And the cooler part is that when you put this on the stack and Narset's out, she gets pumped by 1, which means she completely dodges it. And if you follow up with a non-creature spell and then swing with Narset and cast Anger of the Gods again, boom, Tivit's gone too. So, yeah, I don't even have to target Tivit anymore. I could just wipe the board clean. And they're not going to be able to cast them again because maybe they expended mana or whatever. They're going to be a turn off from doing Tivit things, and I don't have to target it. So, yeah, technically a 4 mana board wipe to save Narset and everything. So it's really cool. That was one of my additions. I kept Angel's Grace in. I've been back and forth on Angel's Grace for a little while, and then I finally got validated when I played in Festival of Nights. When I tried to win on stream and I put an intuition pile in my hand where there was Angel Grace in my hand and I wanted to mill everybody out, but I decided to mill myself and put a clear win condition on the stack with Jace, Wheeler of Mysteries, and in case somebody had an Ottawa or something like that, Angel's Grace is really good to put there. It's also time stretch when you play Final Fortune with Narset out. So what you do is you play your Final Fortune, you go to your Final Fortune turn, cast Angel's Grace, you can't lose the game. So when you pass the turn, then you can not die. So you put your Final Fortune on the stack again, right? Cast it, go to your final turn, and on your final turn you cast Angel's Grace. Angel's Grace goes to the graveyard. Then you go to attack with Narset, you cast Final Fortune again, then you go to another extra turn. So you're taking 2 extra turns for 1 white, red. And then you go to your final turn, and then you swing with Narset again, and you cast Angel's Grace. So you just time stretch for red, white. That's a little crazy, right? Also works with Pact and Negation. I haven't been that cool yet to just Pact in response to my trigger yet, but that is something you can do. Running Consider. In my current version, I'm not running that anymore. That's the only thing different between this tournament list and the next. I added an Expedite because, when I play Narset, she's really good. The extra prowess trigger from casting something post Narset is really cool. There's some times where I want to cast her mid game and I don't have the Lightning Greaves or something like that, and I can actually tutor for Expedite. I think that's really cool. It just brings her in, draws you a card. It's really cool. Let's see, anything else that I added in since the last update? I added in Days. I added this in for Festival of Nights. I was just looking for some more free interaction that wasn't too costly. I'm actually thinking about taking it out this time, but it's been okay. It actually won me one of my games at Festival of Nights, so I kind of got a soft spot for it. So I don't think it'll make it out anytime soon unless I can find something of equal or lesser value than this. But it's been good to me so far. I was back and forth on the One Ring for a while. The extra card advantage is really cool. I really like it a lot. I was very low on this card before, but since I'm looking for hands, I'm mulliganing for hands that that are very fast and may not even have the 3rd pip of mana for Narset. I could just drop the One Ring if I want to. That seems like usually a better play, and the extra protection when you drop it down is really cool. Let's see. I had a Grinding Station. I swapped Mesmeric Orb 1-for-1 with Grinding Station because it just mills me. I have control over this mill, and I like the control aspect. Also, Ben, he won the Silicon Dynasty 1 with Tim the Malcolm. he's been playing Rockside lately, and we talked during festival. He's also in my meta. We talked during festival, and he got me on the grinding station train because he made the argument that if you Jessica's Will and you're tight on mana, say like you don't have any more mana up, and you Jessica's Will and you have your Breach in play, and you somehow get to a grinding station, then you have your red mana. You can just utilize that. If you don't need blue mana for Breach or anything like that. Grinding station just gets you there, and it gets you relatively close to the position that you want to be in, given that you are a Underworld Breach deck, Narset is an Underworld Breach deck. It gets you everywhere that you want to be. So technically now, there are 3 copies of Brain Freeze in the deck. So there's Grinding Station, Jace Perfected Mind, and there's also Brain Freeze itself. So there's about 3 Brain Freezes in this deck. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Actually, let's just go to the new list. This is my original Moxfield list. Feel free to check it out. I'm also leaving hella comments down here, talking a lot of shit to y'all. I'm just kidding. Nah, it's been like answering a lot of questions. So if you got any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below in the video or on the Moxfield, or just hit me up in my Discord or on Twitter or whatever. I'm not gonna like screen you or anything like that, but the one change after a talk with somebody in the CDH Nexus, they were interested in the deck. So I have this theory that when Narset catches on and more people start playing it, it's going to have the inverse stacks effect. And what I mean by inverse stacks effect is that usually when you see 2 or multiple stack decks in the pod, the notion is that each stack deck is going to help each other out. And by that, like, if a stack deck plays Deafening Silence, the other stack deck is like, cool, I'm gonna play Dork. And then that stack deck plays like a Dork on their next turn, then the other stack deck goes, cool, I'm gonna play a Thorn of Amethyst. And they're just helping each other out because they're both creature-based strategies, and the other 2 decks that aren't are getting left behind in the fucking dust. And it's slowing the game down to a point where either one of the stack decks are going to win. But my theory, if you see multiple Narsets in the pod, is that the decks are going to speed up. They're going to get even faster when they have Narsets on the field, because they can take pieces from each other's decks and then they can excel in their game plan. So if one Narset deck is ahead and he's like, all right, I'll play Narset, and then the other one plays Narset on turn 2, but is also cast like Faithless Looting or something like that, the first player who played Narset is going to swing and then cast their Faithless Looting, and they're going to dig deeper into their deck. Meanwhile, the other one is going to pick up where they left off because they cast their Faithless Looting and then try to get something out of their graveyard. So they're just going to leech off each other and go back and back and back and forth. Yeah, it can also be a dangerous situation, or it could be like, or it could be nothing at all, because they might just be disrupting each other to the point where they just can't win anymore. So there's 2 things here. They excel so far ahead that the other 2 decks can't catch up, or they just interact with each other so hard that they can't even win the game themselves. So I've added in Pull from Eternity. This is a card that I think everybody wants to run in EDH, and what it does is Pull from Eternity is 1 white. It's an instant. Put target face-up card that's removed from the game into its owner's library. So what it does is, once you start exiling, or your Breach gets exiled or something like that from the opposing Narset, you can pull it back, put it in your graveyard, and then try again. And that's the general idea. Or somebody says, all right, I'm going to Mind Break Trap your Breach. And like, what do you do after that? Well, you can go ahead and get Pull from Eternity, pull it back into your graveyard, try again. And it doesn't stop there. So you pull the Breach back, try again, maybe it gets countered again. Then you go to your next turn, swing with Narset, cast Pull from Eternity, pull back the Breach, try again. So you're adding more resilience to the deck. You get 2 tries with Pull from Eternity. Everything in this deck pretty much gets a second try besides the creatures. So even then, there's more applications to this. So if your opponent casts maybe like a Value Tainted Pact, right? They pull these cards in exile, they get their mana crypt, and then they're ready to like play the game, right? So you can pull one of those cards back from their exile pile into their graveyard, and you can cast it. So say they exiled a Mnemonic Betrayal. You can pull that back out of their exile and put it in the graveyard, and then swing with Narset and cast it. Or if they play Chrome Mox and they put like a Culling Ritual under their Chrome Mox, you can pull it back to the graveyard and then go ahead and cast it with Narset. There's like a few applications with that. Maybe you need a card. Maybe you need to like exile your LED to get this Brain Fuse off because your breach line was very tight and you need to exile LED. Well, guess what? You can pull it back. You can pull it back with Pull from Eternity and put your LED back into your graveyard and then continue off comboing like you had been before. Crazy. So there's a large application here with Pull from Eternity where you can just, you just have the more added resilience. So now that you have the speed to cast your breach quickly and efficiently, now you have the resilience from one damn card for one white at an instant speed. Like now I think this deck is 100% where it should be. And now I'm heavily convinced that this is the best breach deck in the format. Heavily convinced. And if you can find another deck that's really good at playing breach, by all means, let me know, and I will apply that to this deck. Just let me know. If you can find another deck that's better than playing breach, let me know. Because I'm willing to be wrong, and I will apply what I've learned. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the quote unquote deck tech that I'm doing here for Narset. But yeah, this is really cool. So let's look at EDH Top 16. Let's go to decks and let's take a look at the other Narset decks in the format. So we got Narset and Light Exile. Actually, go back. God damn it, Zane, fix that. I'm just kidding. So Narset and Light Exile is currently the top performing Jeskai deck, and I plan to keep it this way. Followed by Alstro of the Infinite. It's got 14 entries, 2 top 16s. Then we got Narset here. We got 3 top 16s, 10 entries. I'm going to enter the next tournament. I'm going to enter 2 tournaments next week with Narset, and I'm going to clap. I'm going to clap some cheeks, bro. So let's see here. So we got Narset Light Exile. As you can see my name all up here. It doesn't have my my performance from the Mishra's Workshop tournament in New York. I hope they upload it at some point, but maybe it's a little bit too late. It would be helpful so I can, take some rest from playing Narset and I can play another deck. But we got Sander, Nathan, another performance from Sander, Thomas, and then we got Tom Sims up here. But as you see, my name's all the way up here in the top 6. It was rough before, I would say. There's one, I think it's Mox Masters Treasure Series. So there's also been a huge, I wouldn't say resurgence, but there's been like a huge, I guess I'll say resurgence. I'll say there's a huge resurgence about people catching cheaters in online tournaments. And I think personally, I've been like a victim to it. So, and I don't want to catch people. I feel like there's some merit to you playing in an online tournament and actually playing an honest game. And I don't think I had to catch cheaters, because I'm playing with people that I play with on like a normal basis, and there's people that I met in different servers, like the playing with Power server, and it's kind of maddening to think that I could have been doing better. It kind of sucks that like all of my tournament performances online, there might have been a cheater. And it goes to show you that I'm not, I'm not a terrible player. And it took a lot for me to realize, like, you're not, I'm not a terrible player. It's just that, like, my performances online have been determined by, some kind of stigma or, like, I wouldn't say stigma, but more like some kind of culture that, it's a cheating culture. Like, people cheat online. People are very laissez-faire with their actions online and, like, how they play online. And when you show up and you put the effort into showing up in person and paying fees and planning lunch and things like that, like managing your mental health to be around socially around people and have a presence, like those are things that I consider when I show up to a tournament. So therefore, I'm going to put up the best performance that I can when I show up to these tournaments. And as you see, I've been playing against people who quote unquote care a lot about their performances, and I'm playing against them and putting up results, and like, to be honest, like I played playing with Power Server, and I played a lot with one of the out of cheaters, Derek. I played a lot of games. Like most of my testing was with Derek, playing this deck, and like I had a bunch of like gameplays where I played with Derek, and I knew he was cheating, but I couldn't like quite put my finger on it because for me, I would jump into the game and he was already shuffled up, and I'm like, cool, whatever, that's the culture here. Why would he cheat? X, Y, and Z. And then there's people who are like also validating him for cheating. I'm not gonna name any names, but you should probably keep an eye out for them. But they were also validating him and like supporting him, and then also just letting him win, and like not doing anything to like press him or anything like that. And like it's the culture is just very weird online. It's very like, this is my friend, I met him online and therefore I trust him. But like, you can't trust anybody you meet online, dude. Somebody you haven't met or you don't have a rapport with, you can't just really trust them like that, from what I found. But yeah, like, most of my performances have just been online. Like, even not, oh yeah, I'm just down here. So yeah, all of my performances have been online, my earlier performances. And I've always had like 1 win, 2 draws, 2 losses, 4 losses. And, I'm trying. I am trying. And who's to say I met cheaters, and I have recorded some of my games, but it gets tiring after a while. You shouldn't have to like monitor people who put up their fucking money to like come into a tournament. Like, that's some bullshit. But I will have to get better at catching cheaters in online tournaments, which fucking sucks, but it has to be this way because we want to foster a great community online, and we also want to keep doing tournament games from the comfort of people's own homes, because people don't have the privilege to travel outside of their home, or they don't have the privilege to travel, or they don't have the privilege to have tournaments in their area, or like any TOs in their area. Like, online tournaments is the best they can probably do, and we don't want to discourage people from playing CEDH. So we're gonna have to foster this, and we're gonna have to police everybody to be better, and we're gonna have to police everybody to not cheat. That is my duty as a fucking CEDH player and content creator. So I have to stay on top of this, and regardless whether I put up results online or offline, like I have to do that. Whether I win or lose, I have to, I have a responsibility towards this community, because this community has really, really great people, and they don't deserve the treatment of getting cheated out of their wins and getting cheated out of good games. They don't deserve that. But yeah, that's all I want to say about that. So that's all I want to say about my results, actually. But yeah, we got Tom Sims here. This Tom performed number 15. He actually made it right in the top 16, which is really cool. So I've seen from other Narset builds that people are running Twin Flame and Dual Caster Mage. So we got Dual Caster Mage here, of course. They got Imperial Recruiter. No Recruiter of the Guard, actually. Maybe you should run that. If you're watching this, Tom, just consider Recruiter of the Guard. They got Fairy Mastermind, Dranith, Archivist Ligma, PFB, Phyrexian Metamorph. So they got like a bunch of like mid-range cards in here. They got Steel Enchantment. They got the Greaves in here. That's just cool. What else they got? Gitaxian Probe. Like, you can see their deck's not that much different. Rending Volley, that's different. And I can see why they're running it, by the way. So I don't mean different in a bad way. It's just different between my version and their version. But yeah, they're running a very like mid-range heavy card draw in creatures kind of like strategy here, which would then get them to their Dual Caster Mage and their Twin Flame. So I would recommend, if you do want to go the mid-range route and you do want to run Dual Caster and Twin Flame, that you run more card draw engines so you can put these cards into your hand, like Ledger Shredder and things like that. Professional Facebreaker. Like, you're gonna have to run some more card draw engines, because what my build does, no matter if you're on like 1 or 4 cards, like, you're gonna find a way to close the game. But for this deck, you might want to keep 1 or 2 cards in your hand. My deck wants to wheel as much as they can, put as many value engines on the board as possible, and just rocket ahead of everybody. But this one is looking to slow the board state down and like grind out everybody and make sure that, like, you know, they have an opening to win the game. This one's a very safe build, and I like it a lot. It's also got a Ganjo in there, which is really cool. Fiery Islet. Maybe I might play Fiery Islet over the white-red, the white-blue land, or Exotic Orchard. Maybe I might play that instead. Yeah, this is really cool. Forbidden Orchard. Yeah, it's a very solid. They're running Path to Exile. They were running Path to Exile before I even tried to get on it. So Path to Exile is very solid. I'm gonna try that out too. But yeah, learning from other decks. And obviously, this deck deserves to be in the top 16. It's really good. Very good mid-range deck. So if you don't want to play my version because you feel like it's very like, or it's too fast or too fragile or something like that, you should probably try Tom's version, because it's very reliable and, you know, it gets the job done. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to go over for this deck. If you do like the content, make sure to give me a big old like and subscribe. And, you know, follow me on my socials if you can, or if you'd like to. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to drop them below, or, you know, just hit me up on any social platform that you feel like or feel comfortable on. But yeah, and I'll catch you later. Peace.